What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're going to take a look at one of the strongest and most satisfying Titan builds currently available in Season of the Plunder. This build is truly amazing and one of the best builds that you can put together for Titans right now. This build features the Severance Enclosure exotic chess piece, which comes with the intrinsic perk called YEET-O-MATIC Trigger. Powered melee final blows unleash a damaging explosion. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the radius and damage of the explosion. Along with other key components of this build, the Severance Enclosure is going to provide a mesmerizing display of near infinite shoulder charges that send your enemies flying. It's purely amazing and absolutely fun, and we're going to break down everything that you need to do to put this build together. Now before we dig in any deeper, if you do enjoy the video and find it helpful, please be sure to help support the channel below by hitting that like button along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated. When it comes to Arc 3.0, Titans have an extremely long list of great exotics to choose from. There's the Syntheseps, the Worm God Caress, the Armentariums, the Heart of Inmost Light, and many others. But something that all of those lack is the marvelous display of yeeting your enemies across the map, even big bosses. One of the funnest and most satisfying acts in the entire game, which is why I call this build the YEET-O-MATIC. And since Severance Enclosure is going to give us the ability to send our enemies flying across the map, it's important for us to choose the right striker build. So to start, we're going to be using the arc aspect called Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks starts health regeneration and makes you amplified. What's important about this is that it doesn't require your melee to be fully charged. Just critically wounding a target or breaking their shield with your melee attack is going to infuse your melee energy. It's going to give you increased range, damage, and amplify you, all off of a non-charged melee. And we're going to pair this up with Juggernaut. Now this aspect is really interesting. With full class ability energy, and after sprinting for a short time, you gain a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When the frontal shield breaks, your class ability energy is depleted. While amplified, the shield blocks significantly more damage before breaking. This is important for any Titan that's wanting to use shoulder charge. It provides you with a complete frontal shield. It will really come in handy in PvP. Now to go along with this, we're using Seismic Strike. After sprinting for a short time, activate your charged melee ability to slam shoulder first into your targets, damaging and blinding enemies in an area around them. While you are amplified, the blind radius is increased. I know that Thunderclap is immensely popular right now. Everybody's wanting to try it out, but I assure you, Shoulder Charge actually provides more benefits with this build than Thunderclap does. As far as our fragments, we're using Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. Also adds 10 resilience. We're also using Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. Adds 10 strength, which is really going to help us get our melee back. We're also using Spark of Amplitude. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. And since most of this build is going to provide us with the ability to stay amplified all the time, we're going to make a lot of orbs. Especially because we're using Invigoration. This leg arc mod reduces melee cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. And we're also using Absolution. Reduces all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb. What this build really benefits from is Heavy-Handed. Now this is an arc mod that costs 7 energy. While charged with light, regain half of your melee energy when you use a charged melee ability, consuming 1 stack of charged with light. You also get a secondary benefit while surrounded by multiple combatants. Defeating a combatant with a fusion rifle, shotgun, sidearm, or submachine gun adds ammo for that weapon straight to your reserves. This is an extremely beneficial secondary perk to have, especially for anybody running shotguns or fusion rifles. Since Heavy-Handed requires this to be charged with light, we're going to use Elemental Charge along with Melee Wellmaker. That way all of our shoulder charges, and actually because of Knockout, all of our melee attacks have the ability to create wells. We'll be pairing this up with Bountiful Wells, which allows us to create 2 wells instead of 1. Well of Striking will be beneficial for this build, as you will receive additional melee energy every time you pick up a well. We also want to make sure that we stay amplified, so we're using the new seasonal mod called Amped Up, which is going to allow us to stay amplified for a longer time period. And to make sure that we're providing synergy to our other abilities, we're using Impact Induction. Causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. And we'll be using the Arc class item mod called Outreach. Reduces melee cooldown when using your class ability. Hands-On is another extremely important Arc mod, as it returns super energy after defeating enemies with melee attacks. Adding Harmonic Siphon to your helmet will be another good option as well. That way you can create additional orbs off of any arc weapons that you're using, which will then restore your class ability, including your melee. With this build, we've put a lot of focus into restoring melee energy, and it pays off. The Severance Enclosure is going to be able to proc for you almost infinitely. And with the knockout aspect giving us the ability to maintain a charged melee, we're always going to be creating wells. We're always going to be amplified. We're always going to be able to proc Severance Enclosure's ability to yeet your enemies across the room, which is a joy to witness. This build is incredibly fun, and it's ridiculously powerful. So while your first thoughts might be equipping the Syntheseps or the Worm God Caress, I highly encourage you to give the Severance Enclosure build a try. I guarantee you're going to be amazed. And with that, that comes to an end of today's video on the YEET-O-MATIC Arc Titan build. Thank you all again for checking out today's video. I hope you have enjoyed and found it helpful. If so, then please be sure to help support the channel below by hitting that like button, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're in need of any help throughout this season, maybe with the new raid or any of the other content, be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.